Hello and welcome to the Garian Tabletop. I am Garian Raver and this is a Far-Waste devlog. The mechanical counterpart in a way to the Chemist, I present to you the Machinist class. Remember, this game is a work in progress. Put your feedback in the comments or join us on the Garian Raver Discord linked in the description. All the release rules are on the Far-Waste Lab, also linked. I should also mention that Eli, the Far-Waste artist, is taking a break for personal reasons, so we're a little light on art at the moment. More space for your imagination though. As you know, I've planned 7 classes, at least 3 subclasses each, max level 25 and no multiclassing. You get your subclass at level 1, and there will be an optional level 0 for new players. Every 2 levels all classes get honing to improve stats, and every 4 they get core growth to improve MB scores. Machinists, or Machinists if you prefer, are geniuses of technology. Able to bend metal or code to their will, they wield specially built equipment that vastly improves their chosen role. Perhaps they built their central gadgets themselves, perhaps they bought them, perhaps even they stole them, but one cannot steal the skill required to utilize them properly. All Machinists display impressive ability to turn ordinary materials into functioning devices. In a way, they're a bit like scrappers with the edges sanded down. Refined. The things they produce are highly reliable, able to assemble a tool set, a timer for their friend's explosive, or a means to start a fire on a cold night. They also fulfill the role of a doctor for their artificial acquaintances, performing maintenance or life-saving upgrades. Their subclasses are Drone Pilot, Hacker, and Mech. Machinists are amateur adept with all one-handed weapons, PPE, and soft armor. They start with one adept weapon, a melee weapon, and either work attire or a K insert. That's the starting PPE and soft armor. The one-handed limit locks them off from all rifles and functionally explosives, but every other weapon category has at least one one-handed weapon. Even shotguns have the low ball and sawn-off. Tech is obviously their most important stat, with most unique abilities using it. They're combat support, but mostly use their gadgets over normal weapons. All Machinist subclasses get gadgetry at level 1. Spend 10 minutes with some mechanical parts to construct a gadget, or both mechanical and electronic parts to construct an electronic gadget. The gadget lasts until you disassemble it or a week has passed. There will be an extensive list of items in the game, each given one or more keywords that explains their interactions. Gadgets include analog clocks, cuffs, timers. Electronic gadgets include calculators, digital clocks, cyberpick devices, etc. I still need to finalise this list, so any ideas for gadgets, stick them in the comments. All Machinists also get Tech Expert at the end of the mid-levels. This gives them the glow on any check made to recognise, understand, repair, or disable a piece of machinery or technology. The defining feature of the drone pilot is that they pilot a drone. They have a little flying companion that they control remotely, lending ranged combat support from the safety of being nowhere near the enemy. Their little buzzing buddy can fulfill various roles like scouting, sniping, and indeed delivery, equipped with a camera and a live feed. As the Machinist gets more used to their fancy kit, they can customize their drone to suit their needs. Their interest skills can be architecture, computing, fieldcraft, mechanics, or recollection. Their central thing is the recon drone. You deploy it, after which it's treated as a separate creature that occupies a space of its own. But it doesn't have its own profile and it shares your movement. You are controlling it, it is not autonomous. You can see via a camera built into it and it can move up to 150 meters away from you. You can mount a one-handed amateur ranged weapon onto it and it makes all attacks with a stat of 2. You may control it, but it has its own targeting. This is to reduce the burden of improving different stats and to make your drone more versatile. Although it doesn't have a profile of its own, its health, protection, and evasion are determined by your tech stat. The exact way they're calculated will need testing. You control it by spending movement on your turn. Spend 2 meters to move the drone up to 4 meters, or spend 10 meters to shoot. Early on, the drone gets upgraded with Delivery Port, making it able to store and transport light items. You and your allies can access this storage. Then is the first of 5 drone upgrades. These let you pick various buffs for your drone, allowing you to customize its purpose. You can improve its armor, its evasion, its attack stats, or allow it to mount 2-handed weapons. For each drone upgrade, you get to pick 2 of the options. To emphasize the drone as your primary weapon, you then get professional mounting. Your drone is considered professional with any mounted weapon. You are not. Its maximum range also increases. Mid-level, there's another drone upgrade and release hatch. Items carried by the drone can be released to land on target without slowing down. Non-fragile items can be dropped safely, while grenades and AoE compounds will activate on landing exactly as if they'd been thrown. A third drone upgrade, adding the new option of quiet flight, and its speed increases. It can move up to 6 meters for every 2 meters you spend. Terrain mapping is a handy utility, allowing it to automatically map small complex areas or large open areas around itself. You can access these maps on your drone control device, where they remain for 24 hours. In the higher levels, your drone gets remote precision, giving it controllable arms that allow delicate, precise interactions, such as with objects, computers, explosives, etc. The range increases to 500 meters and you get 2 drone upgrades back to back. The first adds a new option, a shield generator, while the second lets you pick 3. This is your last choice of upgrades. Finally, you get satellite signal, increasing their maximum range to 2 kilometers. Perhaps not the most exciting thing, but at this stage, your drone is incredible at its job. This just gives it basically full freedom. Its speed also increases to 8 meters per 2. As you might gather, the intended point of the drone pilot is recon and long-range support. They also function well as a healer or quartermaster of the squad, delivering needed compounds and ammo between people with their fast drone. Machinists get few tricks for themselves personally, but the drone pilot has none. It's all about that drone. I'm not sure that's the best thing, but their drone can be very powerful. Just make sure you keep safe. In a world with many artificial threats, the hacker has one of the best counters to them. Wielding their purpose-built tool, the hack disc, they can intrude on the systems of their targets without getting into risky melee range. Once they dig their claws in, they can wreak all kinds of havoc on their victims, from disrupting attacks to full-on control. But a modern hacker can't limit themselves to artificial enemies. You usually don't choose what attacks you. By use of social engineering and the cunning biohack feature of their hack disk, even people and monsters aren't immune to a hacker's influence. Their interest skills can be computing, fast hands, intuition, mechanics, or streetwise. Of all the Machinist subclass toys, the hack disc is the most subtle, but it's also quite complex from the outset. A one-handed device, somewhat like a handgun, it shoots a small disc that latches onto almost any surface and emits short-ranged waves that allow hacking and biohacking. You can carry a max of 6 shots at a time, producing 2 per hour of rest. It has a partial weapon profile, but as it deals no damage, armor is ignored. It can still be dodged or deflected by shields though. The effect of the hack disc depends on whether the target is organic or artificial, but all attempts to resist it are mind comm checks versus tech. Only one target can be hack disked at once, and targeting a second will disable the previous hack disk. It remains active for 10 minutes or until 2 mind checks are passed against it. As creatures can have different sizes, anything larger than 2 meters by 2 meters, 1 square, has the glow on all mind checks against it. Artificial creatures are hacked, allowing you to influence their actions and control them to a limited degree. Spend 6 meters to give them a verbal or non-verbal command. They're limited by equipment, capabilities, and movement as normal, and will spend their movement on their own turn to follow the command. You can give multiple commands in a turn, but each separate command triggers a mind check to resist it. These checks are done right before they follow the command on their turn. For example, commanding a robot to move 10 meters, pick up an object, then move another 6 meters would count as 3 commands. It would cost you 18 meters of your movement and trigger 3 checks. Alternately, commanding the robot to move 16 meters and pick up an object would only count as 2 commands. If they fail the check, they are forced to follow the command to the best of their ability. Passing a check means they don't need to follow it, and ignore any subsequent commands for that turn. You can command them to move, interact with something in the world, drop something they're carrying, or anything else you can think of that doesn't involve communicating with or harming someone. If commanded to hurt themselves or others, or communicate, they will automatically pass the mind check. The hack disc doesn't have this level of control over organic creatures, instead biohacking them. This is primarily for disruption and distraction. Spend 4 meters to buzz them. This can be done up to twice a turn. On that creature's next turn, if they attack or perform a skill check, you can choose to use one of your buzzes to distract them. There's the mind check, and if they fail, they get the grey on the skill check or first shot or strike of the attack. passing means there's no effect other than ignoring any other buzzes that turn. Finally, inanimate machines are hacked if you breach their encryption. You must pass a computing or mechanics check, GM's discretion on which and its difficulty. My view is that dumb machines that follow simple procedures would be mechanics, but smart systems that use logic and complex procedures would be computing. Note the distinction here, these using skills instead of just tech means they often get additional bonuses. All of that is the level 1 hack disk and is almost certainly the most mechanically complex thing in all the classes. Even so, it boils down to a single check per command or buzz. Personally, I don't think it's too complex for the player to get their head around, but what do you think? Moving beyond level 1, hackers get social engineering, which gives them interest and 2 skill points in charm or trickery. Data mining is the first upgrade for the hack disk, making it so communication isn't an automatic pass. You can command artificials to speak to you or others. The number of buzzes per turn also increases. Locate weakness has you make an intuition check. If your total is higher than the target's defeat XP, see DevLog 20 level up for more info, then you learn any damage types against which it's strong or weak. You also periodically get more max shots with the hack disk. Mid-levels, you can offset the glow larger targets get by hitting them with multiple discs. Black Hat makes commanding a target to attack others no longer an automatic pass, and White Noise allows you to try and blind or deafen your biohacking target. Max shots increase again and the hack disk duration goes up to an hour. A big bonus is that the mind checks to resist the effects become versus computing or mechanics. This means your skill points can directly improve your chances of success. Threat Confusion has enemies roll a mind int check when you're stood near a hacked victim. It can force enemies to attack your puppet or waste the movement. The higher levels is where it gets very juicy. Whitelist access allows you to hack an artificial and make them friendly to you and your allies until the hack disk deactivates. Max shots go up again, and nerve overload gives a chance to knock biohacked targets unconscious. They get to retake their check every turn, but still. White Noise and Threat Confusion get some buffs, max shots go up one last time, and the final feature of the hacker is permanent rewiring. When a hacked target is under the effect of whitelist access, you can make them friendly until you choose to end the effect or you use it on someone else. You could have a robot buddy. Ethically dodgy, but very helpful. The hacker is primarily focused around controlling artificial enemies, but they can certainly help against organic foes too. The range on the hack disk isn't great, so they're likely to be much closer to the action than other machinists, but they get a few neat tricks for staying alive out there. To traverse the world and wade into battle aboard a personal mech built to your design and suited to your purpose. The rarest of all machinists in the far wastes, if only due to the sheer technological cost and expertise required to build and operate a thing like this. Will your mech be slow, armoured, and a mobile cover unit for your allies, or will you zip around the battlefield, scouting and flanking, giving foes a very real threat to worry about? The Mechite is the most front line of all the machinists, usually having only your own creations standing between your body and the hail of fire that'll surely target you. Their interest skills can be computing, demolitions, flexibility, mechanics, or threat. I'll admit right out the gate, the personal mech is a bit out there. I considered making them a class of their own, but they shouldn't be that common. That said, they still have a big decision at level 5 that's almost like a subclass. We'll get to it. Your personal mech is a rideable vehicle in the vein of the best Overwatch character. No, not the hamster, Diva. It can only be piloted by you and has a mounted weapon, starting with an SMG, but this can be swapped for any amateur shotgun, sprayer, or other amateur SMG. While mounted in the mech, it's essentially you. It's an extension of you. It has its own evasion, armor, and movement, and provides cover to nearby creatures. It doesn't have its own health, so it can't be destroyed as such, and you could drive it around as like a metal skeleton, but good luck surviving in that. Central to your mech's operation is its charges. It has a self-charging battery that stores 12 charges, regaining 2 per hour. Doing different things costs different amounts of charges, as do the abilities it gains in later levels. Normal functioning costs 1 charge per hour, combat or heightened activity costs 2, and the GM is free to declare specific activities as costing more. In the early levels, Mechrites get agoraphobia, gain additional evasion when in cover, but not in your mech. Then that choice I mentioned earlier, model specs. Choose whether to upgrade your personal mech into a seismic mech or a tempest mech. Seismic is all about heavy stuff, more armor, more weapons, shields. Tempest is about speed, evasion, movement, flight. At this stage, Seismic gets more armor and improves the cover it provides. Tempest gets more evasion and movement. Professional armaments allow either mech to use professional weapons, and their maximum charges increase. Mid-levels has mech optimization pop up for the first time, with Seismic getting more armor and the ability to mount rifles. Tempest gets more evasion and movement. Summon Mech lets you spend charges when out of your mech to activate it and have it move to your location. Further optimization gives Seismic more armor and explosive weapons, and Tempest evasion and movement. Charges again increase. Turret mode lets you spend charges to cause your mech to target and shoot any hostile or unknown creatures that come within range. In the upper levels, Seismic gets nano projectors giving it shields, and Tempest gets nano boosters giving it flight. Max charges go up, optimization gives more armor and less recoil to Seismic, again evasion and movement to Tempest. Peak performance is the same thing again, but better. More armor and recoil reduction, or more evasion and movement. Their final features each allow you to transform your mech. Seismic Barrier and Tempest Spear. Seismic Barrier makes it immovable, but doubles its armor and improves its cover. It stays like that until you change it back or summon it. Tempest Spear is the opposite. It loses basically all its armor but gets a massive evasion and movement buff. It then deals armor-piercing heat damage to anything that finds itself next to it until the start of your next turn when it transforms back. Zip around with that spear and cook things. Like I said, this one's a bit out there. Having a vehicle as a core part, one big choice, then basically no others. I'm not 100% on this, but I think it's a really cool idea. If we can get the balance and numbers right and it feels fun to play, there is no reason why out there ideas can't work. The Machinist is a rather indirect class, obviously built around their gadgets and inventions. It's definitely more complex than other classes, but I think moment to moment it's simple enough to work. To remind you, we're aiming for combat to be fast and brutal, so having limited choice in the heat of it is a feature, not a bug. And that's it for the fourth class. Let me know your thoughts. I'll put a full write-up on the Farways Lab, so check that out for details. Join us on the Gary and Reaver Discord, check out the Farways Lab, both linked in the description. And don't forget, Gamverite merch is now available. Please share this round to your friends and gaming groups so that we can continue to grow and improve. Thank you very much for watching, subscribe for more Farways devlogs, or for board games, card games, miniatures, and TTRPGs like this. And I will catch you later.